Stella leaving McLaren to join Ferrari. Has he signed a pre-contract? Is Lambiase joining McLaren to become team principal? What does it mean for Max Verstappen? What does it mean for Fred Vasseur? And the knock-on effects continue. The dominoes start to tumble. And if you watch my earlier video today, which broke that story, we do have an update coming out as well from Motorsport.com. So we've got a lot to get into regarding Red Bull. It's going to be a heavily Red Bull themed show tonight, but we do also have some stuff from Piastri, which is also linked to Red Bull, as he's been suggested as a suitable replacement for Max Verstappen should he leave. Newey admits that he's partly responsible for the AMR 26 problems, and Hadjar talks overtakes. Yes, this is F1 Grandstand. I'm Tony Craig, and if you are a Formula One fan, of course, you're in the right place. Do smash a like on the video if you enjoy it. Do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and be part of our community. We'd love to have you. Very, very welcome here. Yeah, hey chat. How you all getting on? I see you all in there. Gemma, Queen of the Chat, Eric, Retro Man, the Deuce Row, Aman, Mario's back. Hey Mario, good to see you in there, buddy. Blaine's back as well. Kareen's in there, Jimbo. Everyone's in. Love it. Full house. I've not missed anyone. I think I've drop tuned, of course. Hello to all of you. Yes, good time to be watching tonight. It's been a big news day, and it's a type of news that could really reshape the F1 paddock in quite a big way. Because sometimes in Formula One, there's one movement which creates a domino effect which affects multiple teams, and this looks like it's one of those days. Now, earlier today, we broke the news that Lambiase is leaving Red Bull to join McLaren. Now, this is also off the back of some rumours, unconfirmed, that Andrea Stella had signed a pre-contract to leave McLaren and to join Ferrari. We have not seen any paperwork to confirm that, nor have Ferrari or McLaren confirmed that either. But then it makes you wonder, but McLaren have come out and confirmed that Lambiase will be joining them. Okay, so trying to unpick this is going to take a minute. So Lambiase, Max Verstappen's race engineer, who turned down a team principal role offered to him by Adrian Newey at Aston Martin, has now decided this is perfect timing to leave or to arrange his next move. He's not leaving Red Bull today. It's really looking like it's going to be 28 by the time he's actually available to move, unless McLaren can organise some sort of buyout of his garden leave. But the interesting thing is what role is he going to do? Now, the early reports said that Lambiase was going to be joining as team principal to replace Andrea Stella. But we have an update. We do have an update on that, which came out at 4 o'clock today. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, because this update is coming out from Motorsport.com. Now, it's unconfirmed other than the journalist who's been writing about the situation. He talks about a press release from McLaren, which I have not seen, just full disclosure. But let's get into it. What Motorsport.com are reporting is that Lambiase will join McLaren as its chief racing officer, which is interesting. Its chief racing officer. His current role at Red Bull is not only Max Verstappen's race engineer, he's also Red Bull's head of racing. Now, don't ask me exactly what those day-to-day duties are, but that's his title. But according to this report that's come out from Motorsport.com as of, 10 past 4 today, Lambiase is going to join McLaren as a chief racing officer. Lambiase, this is what it goes on to say. Lambiase joined Red Bull from Force India in 2015, and it has been Verstappen's race engineer since the Dutchman joined the team from Toro Rosso in May 2016. Together, they won 4 driver world titles from 21 to 24, while Lambiase took on additional responsibilities of head of racing over at Red Bull. Now, at McLaren, Lambiase, this according to this report, will report to team principal Andrea Stella. Lambiase will report to Andrea Stella. The role of the chief racing officer already exists within the team structure with overall leadership of the race team. These duties are currently managed by Andrea Stella, in addition to his role as team principal, the squad explained in a press release. I haven't seen the press release yet. You may have seen it already. So this is very different to the reports that were coming out this morning when I did the video, which was Red Bull F1 Chaos, Red Bull in Chaos, breaking news, or F1 Chaos. So if this is to be believed, well then we have to unpick. Well, what's this pre-contract that Andrea Stella has supposed to have signed at Ferrari? Is that total BS? I mean, I'm going to ask you guys what you think. So you've probably been seeing the same news that I've been seeing today. And you obviously watched our earlier video. So why would Lambiase sign a contract at McLaren to be the chief racing officer? Okay, I mean, it's a promotion in title, but I'm guessing that the actual job role is going to be very similar to what he's doing at Red Bull. But he was offered a team principal role at Aston Martin. And this was, by the way, before Aston Martin were proven to be bad, right? Adrian Newey was talking to Lambiase about this at the beginning of the season, before we know how bad the Honda engine is, and before we knew how bad really the Aston Martin is. Again, they did come back to him. Newey did come back to him, whilst the rumours are that we're talking to Wheatley, and went to Lambiase and said, would you consider being our team principal? In which he said no. But there's been a lot of other things, a lot of other dominoes in play, because we also have to consider Max Verstappen's position. We know Max Verstappen is very unhappy, not just at Red Bull, but in general with these Formula One regulations. We know those guys are like brothers. They are so close. It makes me think that Max Verstappen and Lambiase have had a heart-to-heart and a conversation where Max has basically indicated to Lambiase, one way or another, he's going to be out of Red Bull, maybe even out of Formula One. So, you know, fill your boots, Lambiase. Go and take the best opportunity for you. I would think they have a close enough relationship for that conversation to have taken place. And it's... I mean, Jaman says, the report are that the McLaren offer is more than 3 times what he's making now at Red Bull. Is that right, Jaman? Well, hey, Daryl, I can see you in. Hey, DT, I see you in there as well. Well, that's interesting, because if it's a pure money move, so he wasn't bothered about being team principal necessarily, but he's getting 3 times his salary. Yeah, that'll do it, right? That might sway your hand. You've got a family to feed. It's good for him, good for his kids, good for his wife, you know, good for his career. And McLaren are a very stable team. And if Andrea Stella, even if he hasn't signed a pre-contract, but maybe it's an open secret, he's Italian, he'd like to go and, you know, work for Ferrari as a team principal at some point in the future, and maybe McLaren don't feel like they're going to keep him forever, then bringing Lambiase in as chief racing officer, lining him up to take over should Stella leave, it's a sensible move for McLaren. And I think Ferrari are stuck between a bit of a rock and a hard place at the moment. What do they do about Fred Vasseur? Because Fred Vasseur has done a good job this season. You could argue last season it was pretty bad, but Fred Vasseur did choose to not put any development into the 25 car, to put all the eggs in the 26 basket, and they're at the front. Not quite at the front, but they're close enough. And they've got upgrades. The car handles well. The drivers are happy. The team's happy. They've got an additional upgrade opportunity to help improve the power unit. So Ferrari don't look in a bad spot. So would you remove Fred Vasseur from team principal role only to move him up, only to make him CEO? Like an equivalent of a Zach Brown or a COO, and then he might want to then replace himself as find a team principal that can operate in that capacity, maybe. But I don't think he's done enough to warrant the promotion yet. I think he needs to win a world title. He needs to show that, you know, Ferrari are back on top, I think, before they promote him up. So I think it's an interesting situation. But then you got to look at the timelines. Here, these are the timelines. The timelines are, it was rumoured that Andrea Stella was going to go to Ferrari in 2028 and that Lambiase was not going to be available at McLaren until 2028. So I think it could still happen. And there's one interesting thing apparently in the statement. They said they said the team's ability to attract and secure top talent like Lambiase and previously Rob Marshall and Will Courtney, alongside the retention of and promotion of highly talented people already within the team, is a testament to the strategic vision and culture that are integrally embroidered in the McLaren MasterCard F1 team under the leadership of Zak Brown and Andrea Stella, who are both on long-term contracts. I love the fact that if that's the wording of the press release, leadership of Zak Brown and Andrea Stella, who are both on long-term contracts. Is that them trying to put an end to the rumour that Andrea Stella's moving to Ferrari in 28? And here's another interesting takeaway. Red Bull said Lambiase was going to leave the team in 28 when his current contract expires. McLaren states it looks forward to welcoming Gianpiero Lambiase when his existing contract ends no later than 2028. And that language is like saying, hey, like, look, no later than 28. We're going to try and get him out of his contract early from his gardening leave with some sort of negotiation, I guess. But it's interesting language. McLaren statement saying Stella's not going anywhere as far as we know. Lambiase is coming in. Sooner the better for McLaren. It's an interesting situation because all of these reports about Stella, I now feel that maybe aren't true. Maybe he hasn't signed a pre-contract. The skullduggery. Gemma, I see your super chat there, Gemma. Fred made a good call with the 26 car. Yes, he did, Gemma. I agree with you on that. And Wiz says that all the rats are deserting the sinking ship. Horner must be loving this. Which brings me nicely on to the title of tonight's show. Red Bull's Exodus. I'm going to bring up the graphic. We're going to talk about this. The Red Bull Exodus. And I've got my printout of everyone who's left Red Bull in the last 2 years. So, and I've even made a little graphic. So Adrian Newey, of course, the big one, one of the big ones, left Red Bull's F1 operation after announcing his departure in 24. He went to join Aston Martin as the managing technical partner and now team principal. He won't be team principal for long. Wheatley, we think, has got that job, that he'll be coming in to take those duties over. But he is the designer of the car and he is the managing technical partner and he is a stakeholder in Aston Martin. So he left Red Bull. Jonathan Wheatley, the man we just spoke about then, left as sporting director to become Audi F1 team principal. He's now left Audi and looks like he's going to join Adrian Newey back at Aston Martin. But again, part of the dream team of the glory years at Red Bull. Christian Horner left Red Bull in July 25. He was obviously the CEO and team principal and director of the Red Bull powertrains, Red Bull technologies. Basically, Horner was all the way through Red Bull. He hasn't got a new role yet. Obviously, the rumours were that he was going to take over that 24% stake in Alpine, but to buy the Otro Capital shares. Mercedes have come in to try and buy those shares themselves as the power unit supplier to Alpine. Where does that leave Horner? Is he out in the cold? No decision's been made, but Horner still does not have a confirmed role in Formula One. He will come back. It could be a surprise where he comes back. I mean, Audi are upping their interest in Horner. Williams probably should explore a Horner collaboration and partnership and stakeholder. I think there's a lot to consider with that. Helmut Marko, also, he was pushed, right? We know he was pushed, but Helmut Marko also left. He was the motorsport advisor, wasn't he? That was his official title, but he basically headed up the Red Bull driver program, not just a youth driver program. He was basically pulling the strings on who was going to be the drivers at Red Bull and at Racing Bulls. And then let's look at some of the other lesser names, but still very important to Red Bull at the time. Will Courtney, former head of race strategy. He's now at McLaren as the sporting director. Rob Marshall, long-time senior technical figure at Red Bull. He joined McLaren as technical director, engineering and design in January 2024. Had a massive impact on the 24 car and the 25 car. 2 seasons which McLaren won back-to-back constructors. So a big loss to Red Bull. Craig Skinner, Red Bull's chief designer, left February 26. Like just a month ago. We don't know his next destination yet. The rumour is that he's intrinsically linked to perhaps Horner's next move, but that is just a rumour. We haven't seen any announcements because we don't even know where Horner's going to go. But do we believe that Skinner is linked to Horner's next move? Quite possibly. And then we've got Verstappen's side of the garage. You got Lee Stevenson, who was a long-time Red Bull figure and former Verstappen chief mechanic, team manager type figure. He left in May 2024 for Sauber. And then at Sauber in 2026, he was been promoted to Audi team manager. So he's obviously doing good work over at Audi. He's been promoted to team manager. So again, a key figure from the Red Bull camp. And then you got Matt Corler, Verstappen's longtime chief mechanic, number 1 mechanic, left Red Bull at the end of 25, again, to join Audi as chief mechanic. So these are rats leaving a sinking ship. Who's left? Well, Verstappen, still there, and Laurent Mekies has taken over, but he hasn't really. Everyone wanted to give Mekies all this credit from last year for the 25 season, but I keep telling people, Mekies did a couple of decent things. He seemed to steady the ship, but the big upgrades that really came into effect, that really changed and turned the Red Bull, the Red Bull car around, were really Horner upgrades that he instructed, but he never got to see on the car. So there's a lot that we need to unpick here. Even the Red Bull powertrain, that even if we're saying that's a big tick for Red Bull this season, the power unit looks pretty good. Well, you could even credit Horner with that as well, because it was Horner that forced Red Bull to develop their own power unit. It was Horner that went out and managed to entice over 200 members of staff from Mercedes to come and join Red Bull power units to work alongside Ford. So, there's a lot of stuff that really Mekies can't take credit for. So now, even if he's taking credit for running this team, well, they're slipping into mediocrity. I mean, I think it was Tandem, one of our subscribers, he said something really funny in one of the comments under today's video, if you haven't seen it yet, which was all about the breaking news video about Lambiase leaving Red Bull. He said, we're going to have to start calling Laurent Mekies midfield Mekies. Midfield Mekies. I actually think that's going to stick, because that's what's going on at Red Bull. They are slipping into mediocrity. And as you know, when a Formula One team slips right down the grid, it takes a lot to turn the team around. It really does. It doesn't happen quickly. Gemma says, what's Tubby George's take on all this at Red Bull? Well, my friends in the paddock, Tubby George, he basically thinks that Red Bull it's looking like a sinking ship. There's holes all over the place. He thinks that Mekies is out of his depth. And he also said that the writing's on the wall for Max. I said, do you think Max is going to retire? Or do you think he's going to move teams? He said the one thing he guarantees is Max isn't going to stay at Red Bull. Whether it's a complete exodus for him out of Formula One, or if it's a move to a Mercedes-powered team, is the other option. And I say Mercedes-powered team because obviously now Lambiase goes to McLaren. McLaren have won 2 World Constructors back-to-back. Everyone thinks it's sewn up for Mercedes this year. But is it? Like, McLaren could be the dark horse at the moment, but a Mercedes-powered team is where Max would go if he stays in Formula One. So it could be McLaren. He could go over to be with his old pal, Lambiase. It could be Toto Wolff entices him to Mercedes. But I actually think Toto Wolff's interest in Max is waning a little. Because Kimi Antonelli is looking like a superstar at the moment. Back-to-back poles, back-to-back wins. George Russell is obviously a solid top-tier Formula One driver. I mean, does he need Max? Does he need what Max brings, which is, you know, an outspoken, a brilliant driver, no doubt about it. Outspoken, not that political, says the wrong thing in press conferences. Could he damage brand Mercedes? I mean, potentially, if he's not happy. You know, if Max Verstappen was getting beaten by Kimi Antonelli, I don't know how he would react. But getting George Russell out would be the thing, because the one thing, if Max was going to go to Mercedes, it means George Russell's not staying. George Russell will get other offers, though. He's still a top driver. You could see him going, you know, maybe Aston Martin. Even, listen, if one of the Ferrari drivers leaves, you possibly. Yeah, there's a lot to get into with that one, but it's just a wild situation, because the dominoes will fall as they fall, and this season is going to be silly season for drivers, but it looks like it could be silly season for team principals as well. Or Williams, Amon says, could be Williams. I mean, could you imagine what he's talking about? Max Verstappen going to Williams. Dr. Liavs, Red Bull pay top wages more than other teams in general. This alone, I know, will attract young, upcoming, talented engineers that will take their places. Maybe we'll find the new Newey. Yeah, well, Dr. Liavs, everyone's trying to find the new Newey. I mean, you could argue Craig Skinner is the new Newey, or Rob Marshall is the new Newey, because both of those guys, Skinner and Marshall, all worked under Newey at Red Bull. And look what Rob Marshall achieved with the McLaren championship winning team. Craig Skinner did a good job at Red Bull. So, yeah, who is the new Newey? Rob Marshall's probably favourite for that title. Gemma says, Ferrari's doing bits. I reckon they could do really well and are sandbagging. They definitely have more in the tank there. Kimi, world driver champion. You know what? Everyone's getting on the Kimi bandwagon. It's not a bad bet. I think Kimi's looking like he should be in the conversation for world driver champion, even at this early stage. But Ferrari are doing bits, to pick Gemma up on her super chat. Fred is so calm at the moment. It's not just Fred. He's so calm in the way he's approaching this season. The drivers seem happy. Wild, that, isn't it? The drivers seem in a good place. The engineers seem in a good place. The team seem like a cohesive unit. John Elkin, chairman of Ferrari, is keeping his mouth shut. He's not getting involved. He's letting the team cook. And yeah, it gives you a sense of confidence, because they're not panicking. They're not throwing out stupid comments in the press. They're super calm. They've innovated, I believe, better than any other team. Just from a wing point of view, the Macarena wing, the Halo wing, the little, on the stem of the Halo, the little transparent wings there. You know, the exhaust wing. Like, Ferrari are thinking about a lot of stuff. And I wonder if they've still got in the side pods the way they were channeling air in that very cool way to help generate more downforce. I mean, Ferrari are in the mix. But we're talking about the Exodus at Red Bull. Well, when we think about that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9 key personnel. Not to mention the office staff that left when Horner left, the PR people. There was a bunch of those as well. But purely from an operational racing team point of view, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 9 really influential people who have gone on, most of them, to do better stuff in Formula One. I think the bottom line with all this, and I'm going to do a poll. Here's my poll. And it's an easy one. Are Red Bull a midfield team? I know you all love it when I do a poll. Are Red Bull a midfield team? I think my answer to that is I think they are. I think midfield Mekis is a brilliant nickname for him. He is. I'm not saying he hasn't had to oversee a difficult time, but when you pull all this together, and I know people don't like it because I know a lot of people don't like Christian Horner, but however you look at this, all of this makes me think, one, just what a hard job it is to run a team as CEO and team principal, like Horner did, with all those different elements like Helmut Marko, Max Verstappen, huge personalities. Keep the team together, Adrian Newey as well, and trying to keep all that team together and to win World Driver Championships and Constructor Championships like Horner did. When he took over a team that was a bag of spanners, he took over Jaguar, who were not doing well at all. So to build from all of that, it just makes me think like Horner's value's got to be going up. If you're any team struggling right now, like I'm talking to Williams, like if you're Williams and you know that Horner's around with a big bag of cash, anyone that wants to get out of the midfield, you've got to be looking at Horner to turn your fortunes around. Any team has to look at him and go, he's literally the only credible option for any team who wants new leadership and to actually have effective leadership, proven effective leadership. I can't, how do you look past Horner? I don't know how you do it. Right, Gemma says it's a shit show at Red Bull without Horner. Fail. It is. And I think it's going to take a long time to turn it around. And just on the poll we've got running right now, 92% of you agree and say that Red Bull, yeah, they are a midfield team. Well, welcome to the chat, John. I caught that. Ford will take over Red Bull before 2030. I think Ford will take over Racing Bulls before 2029. That's what I actually think, John. I think the Red Bull Ford partnership, because Red Bull will not. Here's the thing is about Red Bull is they're not going to leave Formula One. What they'll do is they'll do something drastic. They'll throw money at it at senior level for the drivers and for personnel who sit outside of the cost cap situation. And you know, and if I'm Red Bull, by the way, there's part of me that'd be looking at the Horner situation and I'd be like, should we consider trying getting him back? Like, should we consider giving him shares in the team? Because if they keep slipping back down the grid, Red Bull want to winning at all costs. And you might have to consider giving Horner shares in the team and actually, who replaces McKees? Who do you give that job? And you actually want to turn the team around? I don't know. Seidel? Really? I'm not sure he's it. Do you bring Wheatley back and promote him? Bring him back as a team principal? I don't know. It's a mess. But going back to John's point about Ford, I don't think Red Bull leave Formula One. I think Red Bull do whatever it takes to turn it around. And they throw money at the situation where they can. And they make big changes. That's what they'd need to do. But when you've lost your chief designer in February of 26, even that, you lose Max, and you lose your head of racing, your chief designer, all under Laurent McGee's leadership. All this is happening while he's there. If I'm Red Bull, if I'm, brand Red Bull, I'm thinking about like making changes as quick as possible. Otmar, well, you know what? Otmar, I mean, he got shafted at Alpine, didn't he? And Otmar, I don't think was a bad team principal. I think given the right opportunity, he could do something. He's got backing though. He's one of the consortiums trying to buy the Otto Capital shares at Alpine. JXN91 says, do you think Red Bull would still be a top team if Horner's messages hadn't been leaked? Well, I think if Horner's messages hadn't been leaked, Horner would have had a bit more runway before they'd got rid of him. But I think getting rid of Horner at Red Bull was more of a land grab. I think everyone, even in Helmut Marko, I think they felt Horner had too much power. And they wanted to... I think Horner would have gone anyway. It would have been the wrong move. But I think that there was a lot of people against Horner. And I don't think it was all about the messages. I think the messages was a convenient weapon for the people that wanted to get Horner out. It was a land grab. It was. They didn't like Horner having so much power. And Horner was also a little bit reluctant. Yeah, he got paid well. He was on a contract worth, 100 million over 4 years. So 25 million a year. But he wanted shares. Because don't forget, he sees his nemesis, Toto Wolff, owning 33% of the Mercedes racing team, which, by the way, was about a 200 million initial investment for Wolff, and then sees Wolff worth, 1.5 billion. And Horner wants ownership, and he knows what he can do in a team, and that's why I think he's such good value if somebody partners with him. The problem Horner has now about those messages is that there's some people that don't like that. It's left a bad taste. It's left a bad taste. But Horner, I think, is value for money if you want to win. Blaine says, Spice Cars. Horner's new racing team, Spice Cars. Oh, yeah. Joanne says, Horner's not coming back. Horner's looking for a team, and that has the most modern tools, factories to win. A partner who has a modern wind tunnel. Well, there's still the conversation of whether he goes and joins Aston Martin as their vacant CEO role. That would be a surprise, wouldn't it? After all this, Horner gets an equity stake in Aston Martin. Newey decides he's happy about that, and he comes in as the CEO. Wheatley comes back as team principal. It could work. Eric says, revive Jordan with Gunther Steiner just for the ratings. Oh, I love Jordan racing back in the day. I miss Eddie Jordan. I do. Such a nice guy. I was lucky enough to spend a little bit of time with Eddie Jordan, and I tell you, just a top bloke he was. Yeah, bring back Jordan. The name Jordan, why not? Maybe, well, which team's up for grabs? I mean, there's only really Racing Bulls that I think, and Alpine, that are up for grabs, really, from a takeover point of view. And maybe Williams. Williams, if you're on the board of directors at Williams, I would be making the call to Christian Horner. I say it all the time, but I would. I'd be making the call. Or like JX91 says, maybe a new team for Horner. The FIA want a 12th team. I think Horner would love to have a new team. I think he'd take a 12th team. If I'm Horner, I would like that option. I also wouldn't mind Racing Bulls. I wouldn't mind at Alpine. If I'm Horner, I actually, if I could get Williams, I'd want Williams, because they're a heritage team. And the only problem with that is you can't change the team name. I think you can have Williams Horner Racing, but Williams has to still be there. And then, like Dawley says, BYD, they're trying to get a team in Formula One. They're talking about trying to get that 12th team spot. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on that are all tied to the story today about Lambiase leaving Red Bull. So, but the question marks that we're left with, which is how I'll wrap up this section of the show. So the question marks we're left with are, is Andrea Stella going to Ferrari? We still don't know. It's rumours. Has he signed a pre-contract? We don't know. The language in the press release from McLaren states Zach Brown and Andrea Stella on long contracts, which would make us believe that that's trying to squash those rumours. What happens with Max Verstappen? Does he stay in Formula One? Is he more likely to move to McLaren now that Lambiase is going there? Or is Mercedes still on the cards? But does it basically indicate that Max is leaving Red Bull? I would say yes. It does look like that to me. But we need confirmation on all those things. But I think that's where that story leaves us, actually. Which I better get on to the other story. There's other things to talk about tonight, believe it or not. But yeah, I told you that most of tonight's show was going to be about Red Bull. And even though this is another story, it's also linked in with Red Bull. Oscar Piastri has a perfect opportunity to become the main man at Red Bull if Max Verstappen leaves. But would he want to? This has been bandied around for ages. Piastri to Red Bull. But if Max leaves, which I think he is going to leave, does Oscar Piastri want to go to Red Bull at a time when they're not doing very well? On the promise that they're going to turn it around. I think it's too early to say this. So back in 2024, oh God, get your words out, Tony. In 24, Piastri was asked about moving to Red Bull after Helmut Marko claimed Mark Webber was intensively seeking conversation. Piastri said, I think we all know that Helmut says a lot of things in the press. As far as I'm aware, there's no truth in it. I'm very happy where I am. The team have supported me massively since I came into F1. They gave me my opportunity in F1. At the moment in the standings, we are in a very happy place. So I'm more than happy with where I am at the moment. And that was also because Christian Horner was basically flirting with Oscar Piastri. So, putting all the rumours to one side, would Piastri be a good replacement for Verstappen? I think for Red Bull, he'd be a good replacement. Would it be good for Piastri? I don't think there's any evidence that Piastri wants to leave McLaren at the moment. I think he's quite happy. He's the faster driver at the moment in the 26 regulations. He would have arguably won the Japanese Grand Prix if he hadn't been unlucky with the safety car situation and not been able to benefit from a cheap pit stop. He would have been challenging Kimi Antonelli for sure. So right now, why would Piastri's on a long contract to 28. I think it's not just about the money, is it? Even if Red Bull came in with a big money offer, Piastri wants to win a World Driver Championship. McLaren don't look far off the pace. They look like a car that can deliver that for him. Last year, arguably he threw it away, or you could argue that McLaren favoured Norris, or was it just the EBGBs, all the noise around the, around that, and then Piastri having to follow papaya rules, which he probably didn't agree. Well, we know he didn't agree with at times. So all of that played into his headspace. He gets in a negative spiral, and then as of Baku, we see a downward spiral in Piastri's performance. But McLaren was still strong. Why would Piastri want to leave McLaren? I think Piastri thinks he can beat Lando Norris. He did beat Lando Norris repeatedly last season in Grand Prix. So yeah, I don't think for Piastri that move would make sense. For Red Bull, if you lose Max Verstappen, I think you'd be bloody happy to get an Oscar Piastri into the team. Would it happen? I don't know. It's conjecture at this point. It's discussion. I'm not sure. I'm not sure with where Red Bull are, as we are agreeing now a midfield team, whether Piastri would take that gig. That's what I think. Moving on to the next story. Adrian Newey has recognised that some of Aston Martin's F1 problems are his fault. No shit, Sherlock. It's not all Honda, is it? So this is what Newey had to say. Newey has picked out the weak points on the Aston Martin AMR 26 that are from his own doing. Is this PR? I don't know. I think it's truthful. Alonso so far finished just one race, coming home in 18th at Suzuka, Japanese Grand Prix. And Adrian Newey recognises that some of Aston Martin's problems are his fault, according to Spanish news outlet Marca. There are also weak points from an aerodynamic point of view, despite it being Newey's strong point. The report stated that Newey has recognised those issues and has also claimed that the AMR 26 chassis is only good enough for mid-table. That's just reframing what Newey said. Newey said he thought he had the 5th best chassis. Well, there's only 11 teams on the grid. That would be mid-table. But yeah, Newey had to really hold his hands up to some of it, because when he had the microphone in Melbourne, he basically threw Honda under the bus. So is this just a little bit of PR coming out from the Aston Martin camp to say, look, you know, it's not an apology from Newey for the things he said about Honda, but he's basically saying, I'm to blame as well. There's parts of this that are my fault. So what do you think about that? Adrian Newey. I think that Newey knows that he's not quite on the money yet with his chassis. I think he knows as well that he put some high demands on Honda, as he knew what his 26 chassis was going to look like. And I think by the way he's basically built that car, everything is so compact. We saw overheating issues. Honda probably had to compromise some of their design. And now they need to work together to solve it. It's not going to be quick. Fernando says any upgrades that are coming to the AMR 26 are to help decipher whether what they believe is the problem is the problem. Any upgrades we see on the car is not about performance. It's about direction. So that's the situation with Aston Martin. And I think, you know, a little bit of PR coming out from Newey trying to say, look, it's not all Honda, it's me as well. It's the right noises if they're trying to solve it. But will they solve it? I don't know. They won't solve it before the summer break, that's for certain. I'm gonna give you an update on tonight's poll. Our Red Bull and midfield team. 82% of you say yes, and 18% of you say no. I'm going to try and catch up on some of your chat here. DT, I remember last year we had a whole show that was just like 5 of us. Tony all coming up with silly names for a 12th Horner team. Yeah, DT, it was. You're an OG, DT, exactly. I remember times when I was doing watch-alongs, and it might have just been me and DT, or me and Drop Tuned, or just, yeah, we're growing, DT. We are growing. Flatlander, I see you in there as well. Webber would not allow it. Interesting take on Piastri to Red Bull. I don't think Red Bull would want that to happen. Webber would want that to happen. No. They'd be better. Listen, Piastri will get better options. If Piastri wants to leave McLaren, if he just waits a little longer to the end of his contract, I think Piastri's perfect for Ferrari. I do. That's what I think. Gemma, I'd want a refund on my investment if I was Papa Stroll. Aston Martin. Well, look, you got to give him time. You've got to give it time. Like I keep saying, Papa Stroll looks like he's gone in and picked up all of the best top trump cards and gone, there's my team. And you'd go, wow, I'd take that team. Problem is, for all of those different elements to come together, Honda, Newey, car deal, Alonso, new facilities, wind tunnel, the best in class. You know, there's a lot of parts there that need to come together. I still believe it will. I still believe it will come together. I think by the end of the season, like Fernando Alonso said, like remember McLaren in 23, and by the end of the season, they were losing Grand Prix. They were last at the beginning of the season. By the end of that season, they were winning races. They were competing. And I think it's positive thinking, but I think it's possible. I think Aston Martin could have a season like that this season. Drop Tune says, how many billions is Papa Stroll worth? Oh my God. I mean, multiple billions, I would say. Multiple billions. Gemma says, cancel Newey, cancel Newey? No, you can't cancel Adrian Newey. Newey's the GOAT. He'll come good. He will come good. Stop it. They need to get rid of Lance Vance Stroll. That'll never happen either. So that's never going to happen. Look, the part of the deal with joining Aston Martin is that Lance Stroll is their driver, and you know, build him a car that he can challenge with and try and win a world championship. And final story tonight is Isack Hadjar. Finally, F1 cars don't need to be faster to overtake, according to Isack Hadjar. So this is just a quick story, this. So Hadjar's basically talking about overtakes. Now, Hadjar's been quite vocal about how he doesn't like the new rules and regulations. But this story is a little bit different. He's actually been a little bit more positive. So Red Bull driver Isack Hadjar says Formula One overtakes are now possible with similar pace cars, while they previously required the attacking car to be much faster. No shit, Sherlock. I mean, we know that because of the artificial slowdowns that the battery management are causing. And he said, this is what Hadjar said, I think it's the only time where two cars with an identical pace can overtake each other back and forth, Hadjar commented on Thursday. Whereas if you take last year, you always needed like 6, 7, 8 tenths advantage to overtake the car ahead of you, sometimes even more. And sometimes when you complete the overtake, you know the car behind is never going to overtake you back. So if anything, it's making the racing better, that's for sure. But it is for sure at times artificial. So we need to find the right balance. But it's definitely better than it was, according to Hadjar. I'm not sure everyone agrees with Hadjar on that. And then he was asked about specific tweaks to Formula One. He said, do they need to do more with energy management? Hadjar replied, a bit of both. We need a few rules to change and the engineers need more time. I don't know whether this is just clipping Hadjar up to find a little bit of positivity from Isack Hadjar, because Hadjar has been pretty vocal about not enjoying these regulations. And I don't know whether this is all of the FIA trying to focus in on, can we get some positive sound bites to support what we're doing? Because a lot of drivers have been very vocal about what they don't like about these new regulations. They don't think the FIA are doing enough. And what's interesting about the timing of this story is today is the start of the crisis talks between the FIA, team principals, the power unit manufacturers and the drivers. So it's funny how we get dripped a tiny bit of positive about the overtakes. I think we're going to see more of it over the next couple of weeks. Watch out for it. I think this is the FIA leading the charge, trying to get some positive news stories out there whilst they try and decide what they're going to do with regulation tweaks. Because I don't think they're going to do a lot, is the truth. I think they're going to tweak qualifying. I don't think we're going to see a lot of tweaks for for Grand Prix, for the racers, which is what we want. We actually want more to be done to try and get rid of super clipping, really, and to get rid of like artificial racing. Will they do anything before Miami? No. So this is what I wanted to say about the Hadjar story. I think it is the FIA encouraging news outlets to focus on the overtakes, any positives they can find, any sound bites they can find from the drivers, which put them in a positive light. And that's what I think is going on there. Dawley says Monaco will be chaos if they still have phantom acceleration. Damn right. And, you know, I mean, that's the one track I'd be keen to see how this artificial racing, if you like, with battery management how it would affect Monaco, because Monaco's so hard to overtake anyway. The track is so narrow. I would be interested to see the effect on the racing in Monaco, actually. It's a good track for it. Super clipping in the tunnel, JXN91 says. But I'm interested to see, actually, how it affects Monaco, because Monaco is such a narrow track. It's so hard to overtake anyway. Interesting, actually. Let's see. We haven't got long to wait till we find out. When's Monaco? Monaco's May, isn't it? Yeah, so we'll find out soon, actually. It's Miami, then Monaco. Oh, I'm here for it. But yeah, big news day today. Lots to get into. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined us on the show. Thank you for watching the earlier video. If you haven't seen it already, go and have a look. Earlier video, all about Lambiase's move. Have a look at it. Do smash a like on this video if you've enjoyed it. Do set a reminder for tomorrow, 7:30 GMT. I'll be back. Also, if you are watching for the first time, subscribe to the channel, become part of the community, get involved in the chat. And if you're watching on replay, get in the chat, tell me your thoughts. But thank you to everyone who has been involved on tonight's show. It's been a good one. I'll see you tomorrow. And I will definitely, and we'll look out for some breaking news. There might be some more little news nuggets tomorrow. So, thank you so much. I will see you on the next one. Ta-ta.